Hey, it's Nicole from outerinnerspace, and this video is for Sagittarius energy and ESP, so how extrasensory perception can manifest for Sag energy. So you can watch this for any Sag placements, for 9th house energy, or wherever Sagittarius is in your natal chart, because we are all made up of all the expressions of the zodiac in our chart, and there will be an expression of Sag energy somewhere in your energetic blueprint. So the reason I'm doing this series is because I feel like extrasensory perception is misconstrued in many ways, in the sense that we all have it. We all are reading energy one way or another, and the way that we do that is very unique. But because of suppression of these gifts and this awareness, often we don't pay enough credence to these aspects of our experience. And the idea of this series is that you can watch all the videos in the series and pick and pull the parts which kind of resonate for you, and then lean into those aspects of how extrasensory perception manifests for you. And I feel like when we do lean into these very subtle energies and these very subtle nuances that we perceive but often don't trust, it can really help us feel more whole in ourselves, and it can reduce anxiety and depression and a sense of not belonging, because in reality, these parts of us really do make up a huge part of who we are, but we get told that, you know, we can't trust it, or this stuff is not real, or it's for mystics, or this kind of thing. But like I said before, everybody is doing this, everybody is reading energy, and we're all emitting and transmitting energy with our body and our field. And so hopefully this series can help demystify some of the misconceptions about ESP. So with Sag energy, it has a lot to do with the beliefs that we hold, and the way ESP will manifest for you will be dependent on what you believe is possible for you. And it's worth watching the Gemini video in this series, because with astrology and our natal chart, we're always working along the axis of two signs. So the spectrum of Gemini and Sagittarius is one of the same. It's like the extreme ends in a sense. So why this is important to note is that with Gemini energy, that has a lot to do with our first thought patterns and the way that we construct our immediate environment and the way we perceive things. And with Sag energy, we kind of look past those perceptions and we educate ourselves and we grow, and then our whole scope expands because we kind of get out of the limitations of our immediate environment in that sense. And this is important because when we're really little, in the first 7 years of our lives, we're in a theta state, like majority theta brainwaves, and in that time we are absorbing everything that happens around us. It's like we're a sponge for everything we get told or everything we witness. So in these really youthful states where we're our truest expression of ourselves, when we're free and when we're exploring, and when our extrasensory perception is on max because we haven't been told otherwise, if we do get told otherwise, then we learn to shut down these ideas and we learn to use someone else's logic instead of our gut feelings and our true perception of the world. And then we build identities and thought structures around other people's beliefs, and that kind of shuts down a huge part of who we are. So in our field, then we're carrying around other people's beliefs, and this is where internal discord comes into play. This is when we are in a conflict with what we see, what we think, and what we're told versus what we're energetically picking up in the field. And with the Sag and Gemini axis, it's important because for Sag energy, it's got that Jupiterian influence, and that's a really expansive and ethereal influence. And so you could be walking around and emitting a belief that is in discord, and so your energy is in disharmony, and that's an emission that is being sent out from within you into the field. And that can lead to experiences where you feel misunderstood, or you feel that what you express isn't in alignment with who you truly are, like misrepresenting yourself, or even attracting in situations which restrict your spirit like they did back then, is because that energy is still present within you. But the cool thing about it is that Sag energy has a lot to do with alchemizing these thoughts and these mental constructs through learning and through experience and through education, that we can then go into those experiences or into that energy, that original discordant wave that gets absorbed into the body and structures created upon, and we can alchemize that energy and apply the wisdom and the knowledge and the education and the truth, in a sense, of what is real and what was a projection, and dissolve those issues, those beliefs, those experiences from a place of understanding, from higher awareness. And one of the things that I've said throughout this series is that we store these beliefs and these ideas and these early emotional experiences in the body. And so when we carry these, it like I said, it gets transmitted into the field. And for Sag energy, it's in the body, it's related to the hips and the thighs. And so a lot of energy and a lot of early childhood experiences and past experiences get stored in this part of the body. And so if you have like a relationship with your hips and thighs that isn't exactly healthy, where you disapprove of it in some way or another, consider the possibility that what you're disapproving of is this energy that was projected onto you, and it's in a frequency misalignment with what's your true frequency. But because when we're young or when we're younger, we're not at the level of consciousness that we can realize like what a projection is, or what's our energy and what's someone else's energy, and those borders. And with Sag energy, like Jupiter energy is so expansive, that border thing is an issue at times. And so going into those parts of the body and feeling into those zones and feeling for any levels of numbness or aching or tenderness, that's an indication that there's some blocked energy there. And you might find that when you go into these areas and you apply breath and awareness, and you just are open-minded to the kind of impressions that come to you, and you just apply breath into those zones and allow the energy to start to move without judgment, just allowing it to flow again, then you'll sort of start to find that your body starts to change shape, and you become lighter and you feel different in those zones, and you get more sensation back in those areas, and it just looks different because you're tending to those circuits that have been created, those energetic stories which have been stored, and you're allowing them to move out of your field because they never belonged to you in the first place. And with Sag energy, one way to do this kind of work is through vision quests and guided meditations, and using your mind's eye to project images, doing things like listening to drum beats, like this kind of ancient tribal experience that allows you to transmute these energies. When I think about Sag energy, I think about, like having a shaman guide you through a story around a campfire kind of thing, where you see where your power has been taken away from you, or where someone else's impressions have been imprinted on you and made a disconnect with your soul. And so doing things like these visual meditative practices can really help you access these points of the body and clear the energy. And when you do that, you refine the field, and then your whole field, it becomes more expansive, in a truer expression of you, and you emit a wave into the cosmos, into the field that's accurate and true for you. And when you're vibrating at that truer rate, your sense of perception grows, like the things that you see becomes enhanced, your light perception shifts, and your ability to tune into subtle energies will change. When I think of Sag energy, I often think about, like walking in field or something and then seeing a projection of ancient ruins or scenes that have played out there. These kinds of really subtle energies, these kinds of projections of past timelines overlaid. That's a really Sagittarian energy of having that vision and being able to see through timelines is completely accessible to you. But if we're vibrating at a rate which is in discord, then those nuanced perceptions are closed off, and often that has a lot to do with those early childhood experiences about what you believe is possible and what you have been told is or isn't possible. And so that's why it's important to kind of tend to the clogged energy. And another thing for Sag energy to enhance these perceptual abilities is to do candle gazing or flame gazing, in a sense, having a flame and softening your gaze and looking at the light. What this does is activates the different cones of your retina, and it opens up the scope in a sense. It activates the occipital lobe, which is like your visual processing center of the brain. And in these moments, while something may not occur during those moments, it's like training in a sense. And those moments of tempering the brainwaves out of logic and into these like alpha and theta trance states, it can really help with accessing more parts of your vision which may have been closed off in your youth, or as a result of being told that certain things are not possible. And these are kind of simple practices that will expand your scope and allow you to feel like you're more of an energetic being and less confined by those original mental constructs and just what society tells you is true, or what authorities have sort of placed upon you that have dampened your spirit in a sense. It gives you that sense of liberation, and that's such an important detail for Sag energy. The last thing I'll leave you with is the idea of studying ancient traditions and the kinds of practices that have stood the test of time, like yogic practices, like studying the 8 limbs of yoga, for example. I have something on this on my Patreon, but one of the ideas about yoga going beyond just the poses, like the asana is just one limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. It's those kinds of energetic body alignments and attunements, and pranayama is another limb, but combining these disciplines that have stood the test of time will help you align your energy as well. I'm just going to read you a part of a book called The Holographic Universe, which I talk about a bit in the ESP notes, but it says that the idea that the subtler levels of reality can be accessed through a shift in consciousness alone is also one of the main premises of the yogic tradition. Many yogic practices are designed specifically to teach individuals how to make such journeys. And once again, the individuals who succeed in these ventures describe what is by now a familiar landscape. One such individual was Sri Yukteswar Giri, a little known but widely respected Hindu holy man who died in Peru, India in 1936. Sri Yukteswar appears to have been especially gifted at passing back and forth between this world and the next, and described the afterlife dimension as a world composed of various subtle vibrations of light and colour, and hundreds of times larger than the material cosmos. He also said that it was infinitely more beautiful than our own realm of existence, and abounded with opal lakes, bright seas and rainbow rivers. Because it was more vibrant with God's creative light, its weather was always pleasant, and its only climactic manifestations are of occasional falls of luminous white snow and rain of many coloured lights. This is the kind of thing that becomes accessible when you allow yourself the potential that what we see isn't just what is reality, and we're perfectly capable of visiting these dimensions. So Sag, I would also suggest checking out the Jupiter chart ruler video that I did, and you don't have to be a Sag rising to get value out of that. It's just going to show a few more ideas about how your energy can be refined and experienced in a sense that's more true to your authentic vibration. I hope you found some value in this, Sag, and I wish you well.